top down, smoking on a fat cigar. Cool breeze in my head, bittersweet smoke flying through the air. It's the way I feel, smoking on a fat cigar. Look at sweet mama watching me play guitar. She got long black hair and she's smoking on a fat cigar.
What do you recall, Jeff?
Was it Sharky was a club in Nashua that we used to play, and boy, we had some great nights there. We were young and energetic and enthusiastic, and boy, those were good times.
Is that what you remember, Kurt?
Vaguely, it's
Vaguely.
back, I want to say, shortly after we opened Twin Smoke Shop. I had heard about this guy that was an incredible blues guitar player, and he was at the time playing a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan, which I loved to hear. My friend Jay Delanoy picked me up in his Honda Accord, and we went down to Nashville, New Hampshire to Sharky's, which I hadn't been to before. I didn't know what it was. Club of some sort. And Jeff was playing there, and I was mesmerized by his talent. We both grew up in Hartford, Connecticut. That was kind of our thing in common, and I stuck around, probably intoxicated, babbling in his face after drinking. But see, at Sharky's we could smoke cigars.
Right.
We would smoke cigars in there, watch Jeff, and every time he came to town, we'd go. And then, after that, I would actually travel and watch Jeff play because I really enjoyed his music. So I'm sure after we would stick around after the show and get a chance to talk to Jeff, we became good friends.
Yep, that's right.
So was Kurt kind of a groupie you couldn't get away from, following you around all over New England, or were you happy when he showed up because he brought cigars?
I think that I would just say that there is only one Kurt, and he certainly makes an impression on anyone he meets, even to this day. So I would never characterize him as a groupie, so to say, but I think Kurt's style and demeanor is something to admire because he's kind of a guy of few words. This is the most I've heard him say in my whole life since we sat down at this podcast. So he's really opening up. Maybe I'm bringing that out of him.
No, I think you are.
Yeah.
I mean, to kind of give you a picture, the first time we had Kurt on the podcast, like you said, he's a man of very few words.
Yes.
So I had 33 questions.
Yeah.
Because I figured at least 15 of them were just going to be, no. Or, hey now.
Well, I think there's a lot to learn from Kurt. He's a successful guy in a lot of ways, and not just in business, but he doesn't dilly-dally around. So he gets to the point, and I admire that man. And I really appreciate his friendship, and I'm sure you do.
Totally. Yeah. Now, were you into cigars before you met Kurt, or was Kurt the catalyst?
I'm sure he pushed it along, but I've always had I always smoked cigars for as long as I can remember, from the smoking area at Weathersfield High School to Sharky's but yeah, the whole cigar thing. And then the Twin Smoke Shop, and then the song evolving.
Yeah.
Sort of like the moon and stars kind of aligned for us because it's all good,
So I gotta ask you, what's the story?
So we played on Block Island with Dickie Betts and the Allman Brothers. And I was playing with Peter Tork at the time. My band was backing up Peter Tork and the Monks. We were scheduled to go on before Dickie, but Peter missed the ferry. So I ended up playing with Dickie. And that's how I became friends with Dickie Betts and his son Dwayne. And Dwayne's on this album. But my friend Scott Kennedy was there, and there was golf carts that said cigar cutters on the back of the golf carts. So we found that very, kind of weird. And he goes, Jeff, you notice everybody here is smoking cigars, and they have guys going around cutting cigars. We should write a song together about fat cigars and about guys who like to drive in convertibles with their hair blowing in the wind, and they like to meet their other friends about how to make money, and they smoke cigars. It's a perfect idea. I said, okay, Scott, let's work on that together. And this guy, Scott Kennedy, he was related to the Kennedys. His father was a war hero, I believe, and he owned a club in Glastonbury that I used to play at. So, long story short, he and I wrote the words together, and then I was thinking, how could I come up with a song that sounds like someone chugging down the street in a convertible? So that's how
You did a pretty good job, man.
And it's a very straightforward rocker. We call it 4 on the floor. So the drummer's playing 1, 2, 3, 4 with his kick drum, and it's rock and roll. It's straight rock and roll, and it gets a lot of requests everywhere we go.
It's a great song. Kurt can't get it out of his head. We started playing it today, and that just...
We played it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
I've worn CDs out playing that.
Wow.
People would yell at me because they were sick of hearing it.
Wow, I didn't know any of this. I mean,
It was crazy.
Kurt never told me he really liked the song a lot. He's told me a few times, but as I say, Kurt's a guy of few words. And I remember being in the studio and coming up with this that riff that goes, like. The engineer goes, man, I think that's a hooky riff. I think you should go with that. And then the other guitar part was like. So those two guitar parts, to me, when I heard it, I said, yeah, that's kind of cool. I think it'll work. And then, surrounded by leather in my brand new fancy car, the lyrics merged with the feel of the riff.
Yeah.
And then the guitar solo is kind of like Stevie Ray Vaughan meets Jimmy Vaughan type of approach. And that song is on this new album that is doing well. So
that would be this new album right here.
Yeah, we are.
Playing with My Friends by Jeff Pitchell. And, I was looking at that Roots,
Yes.
top 50 electric blues chart, and it seems like they just copied the playlist into the top 12.
Yeah, it was like the week before there was 4 songs on it, which I was astonished. And then all of a sudden the 12 were on there. And I just can't believe how great this album's doing. I'm in shock. This is all in the last couple of days.
And it's not like the 12 songs are on the top 50 list, which would be incredible in and of itself. But it's the top 12 spots.
Yes.
It's the top 12 spots. I've never seen. Now, I don't know anything about the Roots list, how big it is, whatever. So, can you give the audience an explanation of how important that is?
Yeah, my understanding is it's how many spins you get worldwide. And this album is promoted by Gorilla Records and Line Raccoon. And they promote the album to all the radio stations in the world. And they had the most spins on the radio station for that particular week. So that's how they gauge it. So
it's a worldwide thing.
My whole team is trying to, perceive what does that mean,
Yeah.
But we're all ecstatic and we're all hugging each other because it's all good. It's not a bad thing, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's the best Blues Roots album too. It won that, which has Buddy Guy and Gary Clark and people like that. So I'm in shock. I'm in shock. I'm here talking about it the day after it happened. We had this plan before any of this, so
Right.
we might as well talk about that because it's kind of cool. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, here. And,
Cheers, absolutely.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Kurt has helped me over the years, and he helped sponsor some of the Twin Smokes. Has hired us every year to play their customer appreciation party where they're Phil at Mignon and Don Perignons and all that. So we might as well drink top shelf liquor while we talk about cigars and Phil at Mignons. And
Kurt has a few convertibles, as I understand, too. As I understand. Are you sure?
it's not too late.
One thing I can tell you is, you know, all the years I've gone to see Jeff play, and somehow he would see me in the back, and always give us a shout out when he played that song.
You got a very unique, awesome smile. Now that it's got that weird over it, it's hard to miss. Yeah.
It's very well kept.
Now, Kurt, let me ask you a question. You know, having been here for 4 years, one of the things that's been drilled into my head is the music you want played at the store is blues. And when you think blues, you know, Jeff Pitchell's always coming up. We love the Fat Cigar song. And, you know, it's a very important thing for the ambiance of what you were trying to create here. Twins. Why is the blues music, do you think, instrumental for the kind of atmosphere you wanted to create? And smoking a cigar, how does that go?
That is a good question, man. I've always really felt the blues and the music. As much as I've had a lot of hard times in my life, I could feel the blues. When I opened the store, that's what was on, and I wanted to have a vibe of that in the shop. So for 18 years when we were down the road, I don't think there was many days where there wasn't blues playing. So when I walk in here now, and it's not that vibe, some reggae on or something like that, with all due respect, it's just not the vibe that I've always felt when I walked into our own place. So it's always been important to me. It's got me through a lot of hard times.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
really
music, you know, I've always kind of tried to explain cigars to people who don't smoke cigars as like a kind of a love therapy. And music is also very therapeutic and sets the mood for things. And I think the blues, to me, you know, it does. It creates a particular vibe, you know, and I think it encourages you to sit, to relax, to kind of chill.
Even our annual anniversary party.
And you call it the blues barbecue. Blues barbecue again. That's right there. So it's kind of
different music played there, and it's typically always involved in you know, I know it's not easy to turn on the radio and listen to blues. You got to bring your own a lot of times. You know, nowadays we're all streaming stuff, and you know, I do give them some leeway to play different music. It is nice to walk in every once in a while and get that feeling like I used to when I walk in and hear that those rhythms. It always felt great.
Now, the question I have for you is kind of the flip side of
Not as much glare on it.
I would think that Smokin' Cigars was kind of influential in your writing the Fat Cigars song. Because, for me, if I'm trying to think, if I'm trying to write, if I'm trying to be creative, smoking cigar helps me get in the mood, it helps me set the mindset, it helps me relax. I would say it helps my creative flow. Does cigar smoking play kind of a role in your creative process as you write and do things?
Yeah, I mean, not intentionally, but certainly it has. Like I was telling Kurt at dinner that some guys that I ride with, Kurt rides, I ride with my buddies, and we always ride and go smoke a stick somewhere and sit in a circle together and talk. And I've been working on another song for a new album. I'm writing material, and one of the lyrics is like, let me show you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my daddy went to heaven this sunny afternoon. Met up with St. Peter, we decided to ride a tune. Talk about the good things we'd pass on to the young. Here's a song we wrote down, and heaven sang along. Always have a good time, go riding with your friends. Take a drink of sweet wine every now and then. Look for the good side in every single man. Help your brothers and sisters any way you can. So that song came to me when I was riding with my buddies while we were riding and going to smoke a cigar, and it put me in a frame of mind. And I haven't recorded that song yet, but I'm planning to do it in Nashville on this next deal.
We just recorded.
We just recorded it. Nobody steal it.
No one's stealing nothing.
But it's sort of about like, if you died and went to heaven, today on a sunny afternoon, and you met St. Peter, and he wants you to pass on your knowledge to the young, what would you say? And that whole concept came to me, relax, riding with my buddies and going to smoke a stick. So even when you're anticipating relaxing and smoking a stick, good ideas can come.
That was good. I like that one.
I think it's going to be a good song. I just, these are just ideas, and I'm a very spontaneous person, as you can tell, and I leave a lot to the moment.
I'll tell you one thing. Years ago, I don't know why, but it might have been during Laconia Fight Week or something like that. Jeff and his whole band stayed at my house. He wrote a song about shampoo.
Oh, really?
Remember that, Jeff?
I vaguely remember. I mean, we were probably out of our minds, but on Bike Week, whatever. But those were the good old days when we were young and we were fearless.
And then he actually recorded it. He gave me the disc that we could have some.
Oh my God!
What is it? No perk for Kurt?
Was something. Was it Wow, I forgot. That's when you had the
Every
house.
once in a while,
Is that the house that had like the stables and stuff like? Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. Wow, you got a good memory.
I really don't. I remember the good stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah. No,
You remember how it goes, Kurt?
I probably know a few lines, but I'm not going to go there right now.
No. Me and you, Jeff, want to get into it. Everybody knows it's a tough thing. You gotta keep going and keep going and keep. There's so much disappointment on the way, and you got. So, what made you want to go down this road?
I don't think I chose it. It chooses you. I had both my parents are musicians. My Uncle George, my mom's brother, played on the Gran Ole Opry, and he would come over my house. He was a very eccentric guy. And he was the fastest gun in the world, like where you pull the pistol out, and he went to the Grand Ole Opry. And because he was a Yankee back in the early 60s, he was a big, tough dude, but people messed with him because he was a Yankee down there. But he would say to me, don't be a musician because you're too tender. You gotta be tough. This is when I was a little kid. I didn't even know what he meant. But, yeah, like I said, it shows me, I didn't like set out to be a musician. It's sort of like, it calls you. It's like you can't not write a song when it comes to you. And I think B.B. King said it the best. He said, being a musician is easy, except you have to use the bathroom when you don't have to go to the bathroom, sleep when you don't need to sleep, and what was the third? See, go on.
Jeff, let me ask you a question now, because I do have a couple of questions. As well as we know each other, what is the last job you actually had? Because all the time I've known you, you've been a musician full time.
When I told my parents I was going to be a professional musician, they said, well, you got to go to college and have something to fall back on. So I became an elementary school teacher. I taught in inner city Hartford, Connecticut for 2 years. And the day I graduated from college, I handed my father the diploma. And I said, I got this for you. Now I'm going to go make music. And he just smiled and kind of looked at me very baffled. But, yeah, I've taught school. I've taught music. As a matter of fact, this thing being on the charts and Facebook, some girl that I went to college with, Paula, she was a dancer. I hadn't seen her since college. And she writes, Jeff was in the music class. So we had to take a music class on how to teach music. And the teacher was very arrogant and condescending. And she said, Jeff made it fun and made me get through that easily. Well, I don't remember it, but I wrote her, thanks so much, So yeah, I had a lot of jobs, besides teaching, you can name it, I did everything, but I always wanted to just make music my thing, Kurt. And thanks to people like Kurt and a lot of other folks I need to thank on this effort. And it's too long of a list, and if I do it, I'll leave someone out. But yeah, I've been very fortunate to make music. And after Kurt and I were saying we both had lost a lot of close family and friends over the years, you don't take for granted playing music or making people smile with music like you did before. Before we took it all for granted. You get to be our age and you go, every chance you can to make people happy through music, you take them. And that's the reward. All the other stuff is
What's your next question, Kurt?
Okay, the next question is kind of puts Jeff on the spot. I don't know how much it's like to answer this. As long as I've known Jeff, he's played with a lot of cool people. I was going to ask him, you mind sharing with everybody like all the different people you've played with over the years?
No, I think I feel like I'm amongst friends. So, yeah, my biggest thrill was the Allman Brothers, B.B. King. We brought Jay Giles here. He was great to play with. Phil Lesh, from Grateful Dead. But the Allman Brothers was the greatest experience, and Matt was there, he can attest to it. They sent me an email saying, bring your favorite guitar to the Beacon Theater. And I was just very flabbergasted by that. So I went there and they give you a dressing room, and I saw the set list and they recorded it. So I can say I recorded with the Allman Brothers. So probably a month before Greg died, I played at the Beacon, and they recorded it. You can buy it, and that was my highlight of my musical career. But also playing with BB, because he was the nicest person I ever played with that was really famous. But,
are there people that you played with that you were like, oh, I'm so glad I get to play with them, and then after you played with them, you were like, that may not have been a really great idea?
Well, I probably don't recall anything that happened like that, but certainly there's been some crazy stuff that's happened on stage with Peter Tork, with Jay Giles,
Yeah.
a lot of people that you just can't make it up.
Yeah.
You know, but it's never been bad enough where we had to leave or got booed. But definitely certain things happen that we're not in control. And I'm not in control of you, you're not in control of me, we can't control our kids, we can't control anyone.
I can control my regular producer being.
Exactly.
Thank you again, Dave.
It's okay. It's a pleasure. The little Jay Giles story. I was on Jay Giles stage one show back in the day. It was like 20 years old. That was a long time ago.
So that was back in the 1900s.
Jeff came to play at our party one time. We brought Jay Giles with him.
Yeah.
Wow, this is unbelievable.
And Jay was a very good person. He was an introvert, and I think the first time I met him, I went, you know. As soon as I played that to him, he goes, "You know, Seth Justman told me to play that riff right in the studio." And I go, "Well, I heard that in 8th grade, 7th grade, and it cut right through me. It was One Last Kiss by Jay Giles." And he goes, "You know, Peter wrote that for his wife, Faye Dunaway, when they got divorced. You know, one last kiss before I walk out." And I just, that's the first thing that came to my mind when I met him. I just played that to him. And he was so modest. He said, "Oh, I didn't come up with that. Seth came up with that, told me to play that." So he was a humble guy. They named the band after him. He went to MIT and was an engineer. You know, he had the same circumstance growing up where his parents were like, "You're not going to be a musician, you're going to go to school." And yeah, I'm very grateful to him because when he was playing well and wasn't sick, he could really play. And he would smoke everywhere he went. And the fire marshals and the owners of the theater would come up to me and say, "Put that out now." They wouldn't dare say it to him because he would just say, "Fuck it, I'm going to leave," you know. So, I mean, isn't that right, Matt? I mean, he just didn't care. And they'd be like, "The consumption of cigarettes, cigars, or alcohol is forbidden in your contract. Can't do that in a public theater." And he'd just go, "Okay," and he, you know. So a lot of good memories of him. We made an album together, the American Girl album, and he's on this album too, on my song "Prisoner of Love," and he produced that track and played slide, and it was a quite an experience. Yeah.
Who are some of the people who've been the most helpful to you getting you where you are now? Like some of your mentors in the business. Yeah. No one makes it by themselves. Kurt didn't get here by himself. He had a lot of help from people. Who are some of the people that really helped you get to where you are?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, James Cotton, I recorded with him. He opened a lot of doors for me. BB had a policy that you couldn't play with him until you did 11 shows with him. So he didn't give it to just anybody. Of course, Giles, Phil Lesh, all the Cotton, the Allman Brothers, JMO and the Allman Brothers. I was always friends with him. I was always hanging around with the Allman Brothers, getting backstage, never asked to play. They knew I was a professional musician, and for them to send me that invitation and for JMO to hook me up with those guys. Rick Derringer produced an album for me. He didn't have to do that. And yeah, I mean, I'm grateful to all those people. I got a lot of respect for them because they don't have to help out people coming up. And I hope someday to be in a position to help people.
What are some of your favorite places?
My favorite place was the House of Blues in Kansas. That was a great room. People would just go crazy before we even started. The Sting in New Britain was another great place. Toad's Place. Those places are gone. But now the theaters, we're going to be at Tupelo April 1st. So everybody listening and everybody here, come to Tupelo to see B.B. King's daughter and Stevie Ray Vaughan's nephew, Tyrone. They're both on this new album. So, yeah, there's a lot of great rooms.
Have you ever, like, this is maybe a weird question, but I've had this experience myself. Sometimes, because you know I'm a pastor, we talked a little bit about that before. Sometimes I've gotten to a place where I will say yes to go speak somewhere because I know that gets me close to somewhere else that I would like to go or visit, whether that's a restaurant or a person or a place or whatever. Are there places that you would say, okay, I'll go there because I know there's a great steakhouse there, I know there's a great cigar shop there, I know there's so-and-so that lives there. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, Charles Neville worked with us for a few years, and he would play with us, and he'd play with a lot of other bands, and then he'd go play with Aaron at like 10,000 seater the next night, and he had no trepidation, is that a good word? To about anywhere he played. He was just sharing his gift, you know. And it didn't matter if it was a funeral, a birthday party, 10,000 people. It was all the same to him. And even when we made this album together, the rehearsal space for some reason was closed. And I met him there. It was a beautiful day in Northampton, Mass. And we can just rehearse in this parking lot, and then we'll go in the studio. And I just thought that that was so cool. Because he didn't care, he just like, we'll just get it together right now. We won't waste the studio time trying to figure out what we're doing. He's in his 70s, you know? So I think being around people like him is like being with a pastor. He was an enlightened guy, very enlightened about music's gift. And even when he died, he was optimistic to the end, very end.
But I guess he likes it.
That makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, what brought you when you were really fishing and playing so much Stevie Ray Vaughan? Did you ever get an opportunity to play with any of the guys from this band?
Yeah, I did. With Tommy Shannon came to work with us for maybe 6 months. But the first time I heard Stevie, he was doing like on the radio was. Nobody was doing that. And I heard that on the radio, and then I heard Pride and Joy, and I go, how does that guy do it? It sounds clean and dirty at the same time. And nobody was manhandling the Strat like that. He manhandled it. And once I heard that, I said, I got to figure out how to do that. And it took me a long time. Back then, I was listening to the cassettes or the records and playing them over again and playing with them. And then someone called me from the Sting and said, can you do a night to Stevie Ray Vaughan? I said, sure. So we went down there and did it. And like the manager of the Sting said, you guys are Texas Flood. I said, okay. And it was like 1,500 people. And that became a regular routine where the radio stations would play us live on HCN at the Sting, which just opened up a lot of doors. So, yeah, he was like one of my favorites before Hendrix. And he was, of course, a Hendrix guy too. He played a lot of Hendrix, so it's a good fit. Yeah. He really takes deep on that.
Let me give Jeff a little bit of a break here. We've been smoking the cigar for a while. What are some of the things we're picking up from the cigar? How do we like the pairing with the Willet? Matt, you want to talk a little bit about what you're getting from this?
Yeah, so I'm a huge Aganorsa guy.
they primarily grow heavy tobaccos, and a lot of all their cigars just utilize those different tobaccos, blends, and like this one specifically has that. You get like a lot of yes, and it's it's hybridization, just like took the Habano and they hybrid it with Corojo, so you get like that nice kind of grassy spice from the Habano, but then you get that nice kind of creamy sweetness from the Corojo, and it just kind of makes a really nice refined mixture. And then you have fillers in it, and then the smaller bits I'm just getting more of that wrapper. Like I'm getting like like that kind of caramel sweetness, which is going really, really remarkable. It is phenomenal. Like the will has a little bit of heat to it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking.
It's like 130 degrees. I mean, it's a little bit of heat.
So I started doing what Kurt mentioned with like the saliva in your mouth, it kind of cuts through it, and you get more nuances. That caramel's there, the heat's kind of died down a little bit. It's a little bit of like, to me, it's like Asian pepper, like a pepper, and then that just goes so well with the cigar. Just opens up the notes and on tobacco. It's just very.
Wow, that's an unbelievable great description of what we're experiencing.
Yeah. Kurt, do
I'm
you
like
agree with that?
mesmerized.
Who is this guy? Holy cow!
Unbelievable.
This guy's an intellect, for God's
Tasted all
sake.
that, and then he can actually say it.
And then actually to pair it and how the pairing is clearing the palate from the smoke.
Yeah.
Holy cow, I gotta take lessons here.
And then you got Nick who says, lots of tobacco notes. Not really sure why. What do you think, Kurt? You were a little concerned that the Willet was going to be a little too strong for this. Are you still feeling that way, or you feel like the pairing's good?
I think the pairing's pretty good. What he said. I've never been a big guy for tasting notes, and I either like it or I don't.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the cigar very much, and with the pairing with the Willet, I think they're pretty well matched up. Good flavor. Neither one of them's drowning out the other.
Yeah, with this Willet, you've got to go slow with it. And it's fabulous.
I think you gotta go real slow with it, because
Really good. Really good. Now, I had this cigar like in January, our big hack party, Hackapalooza, and I had this cigar then, and I gotta say, 6 weeks later, what a difference. This is sat for a while, and it's really starting to come into its own. It's a lot different than the first one.
Delicious.
And already it's
Absolutely delicious.
Like Curtis, things are really either really good or really bad. And I'm enjoying both these, if my 2 cents matter. But
Yeah, it does.
you could just tell they're just both very refined. The whiskey's.
My 2 cents matters.
Here we go. Ready, guys? We're gonna create this live right now. My thumb was 2 cents.
Oh my goodness.
If my 2 cents matters.
Yeah.
It's so funny you said that, because I was at the drive-thru this morning at Dunkin' Donuts, and the guy gave me back 2 cents, and I said, what's the expression? If you want my 2 cents. That's what I said to him. Went right over his head. Yeah. He was a kid. So it's funny though, but
Oh, that's awesome.
you can change the name of the show to If You Want My 2 Cents.
That would be a good name of a
Right,
podcast.
right.
For cigar reviewers or not. What's the biggest surprise you've ever had on stage?
Well, we used to have a guy who still comes around, Rob. Rob was called the Hook. His nickname is the Hook because if people come up and they're drunk or trying to hurt someone or whatever, we just yell Hook, and he comes out and passively persuades that person to leave. So it happened at the Cape where Matt had to do it. Some drunk guy came up and was trying to grab the mic in a one of the most beautiful theaters in Connecticut, the Cape Emperor Theater. It's very elegant there, and this guy was hammered, and she invites people on stage to dance with her. Well, he was a little drunk, and he went to try to take the mic, and Matt just went up and politely said to him, "You gotta go." and then he kind of reluctantly left. But I mean, I guess one gig in Maine where people were drinking for days and sneaking in the club, and getting on stage and then getting tossed out by big bouncers and finding a way back in, and then they're back on the stage again. You're like, how did this guy get back in here? That's the third time tonight, you know. But you know, that's about it. Thank God.
Yeah, well, if that's the worst that's happened, that's really good.
Right.
That's really good. Now, do you have family or anything?
Right.
A wife and 3 kids. Are they all the boys, girls, a mix?
My oldest is, my son's 24, he's graduated from college, he has a good job in an insurance company, he just moved back with us.
He's going into the music business.
Well, none of my kids are musicians.
Okay.
Thank God. Maybe God gave them more of a sense than he gave me, but they're all good kids. You know, my daughters are still in college, 20 and 21. One's in Alabama, one's in Florida. And I'm with my wife, the sweetheart. Kurt knows my wife, and she tells me go for it all the time, no matter what. So I married, you know, I knew when I married her that, you know, A, she's not materialistic, and B, she's we don't try to control one. And our kids are good kids, thank God. So yeah.
Well, that's good.
One of the memories that just came across my brain, Jeff, actually played my wedding.
Yeah.
Really? Well, now you have to share more than that. What does that mean? He played your wedding.
Performed, he played the music at my wedding. And I don't know what else to say about that. You know, I probably shouldn't even have brought it up right now. But it was a good day.
Did you just give him a box of cigars, or did you actually pay him?
No,
It was a beautiful wedding, and you had a beautiful marriage, and just, you know, something on their course.
I probably read a song on that.
Yeah. There's a million of them about
They're
that.
already written.
I was working on a song because a buddy of mine was marrying his first wife again. So I was working on a country song like I married my first wife again. So it's a perfect song for Willie Nelson. And a lot of people actually do it. A lot of people go back to the girl that they were married to.
Japan is still undefeated.
So I have a question. I'm gonna try to think of how to say it the right way, but so I'm gonna take like my experience with cigars. So to me, like music and cigars, one of the things that I shared on Stan Paul earlier was like kind of that spiritual aspect. You know, like you can, you know, play somewhere and then, you know, all your different people come together like one passion. You know, cigars. You can have 2 people from different roles in society sitting next to each other looking over television. So one of the things with me is whenever I smoke a cigar, I'm always constantly thinking about it, like what am I tasting, like, you know, how is it burning, and then sometimes like if I really just want to like kind of connect like spiritual aspect of it, I'll just sit there and I'll just smoke the cigar, think about it, and then by the time I'm done smoking it, I don't even know what I tasted, I just enjoyed it, I was like living in the moment. Have you ever just sat down and just played music, you know, you didn't think about it, you were just kind of like letting like the spirit go, and then like, when you were finished, you were just like, I don't know what I just did.
You nailed it right on the head. The last couple of years, when I get to perform, I close my eyes. And I let my fingers go where they're gonna go, and I'm completely in the moment. So I see your analogy, and it's a good one, because I never really analyzed my response to smoking cigars until I'm sitting with you guys here. But there is a lot of parallel to that. And really, the trick of life, from what I'm studying, this yogi from India named Sadhguru, when I lost all these friends to death, to untimely deaths, accidents, drugs, booze, I went to a grief counselor, I went to a priest, I went to the doctor, I even wrote a song about getting help for grief. But I only say that because Sadhguru and all these yogis teach us how to live in the moment. Whenever you have anxiety, depression, negative thoughts, It's usually thinking of what might happen tomorrow or what happened yesterday. So we're not living in the moment. Right now, we're all having a great time because we're all present with each other right now in the moment. We're not thinking about any worries, any financial worries, any rumination of death and all this stuff. So yes, that's why I just, just did these 4 gigs in Florida, and I never opened my eyes once. Because I've been playing for so long, and it wasn't like I was trying to show people that I could play without looking at my guitar. I was just going into a place that I needed to go to live in the moment, and we're all trying to find that way. And I know my brother Jay, he smokes like 20 cigars a day. Because he's so stressed out at his business, he smokes and at work, and he's like, oh, thank God. I'm like, I think you might want to cut it back a little bit. But to him, that's what takes the edge off. And you make a great point. It's like, whatever we need to do, it's not a harmful thing. It can be if you overdo it. But yeah, you make a great point. That people are searching, everyone's searching for inner joy. It really is living in the moment. The cigar helps us all live in the moment. And then you make friends through music and through just having a stick. You have something in common. So I'm sure a lot of the quality friends you guys made are from here, and you have a stick with someone that may have never been friends with others.
Well, you know what? Jeff was talking, and he said,
Yes, good time, good time.
He was I was thinking about that stuff, the music that kind of. They are.
Well, that makes me feel good because I embrace everyone else's music more than my own. I'm actually uncomfortable a little bit talking about myself and my music. But this business is a very self-absorbed business. You're always selling yourself and you're persuading others that you're good. That's just part of the job. But if you're okay with that, you gotta like yourself. Like, self-esteem is really important to give your kids and give yourself. And you can always tell people that don't like themselves. I can tell that right away. And the music business has taught you how to discern information about people that, and sometimes you're wrong, but we're getting into philosophical conversations. That's okay. You gotta find, some people find God, I found God. I argue with people that God exists all the time. Civil argument. You've taught me more about cigars than my brother, and he smokes more cigars than anyone ever met.
Yeah, even Pastor Padrón. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. And I'm a professional smoker.
He's combating stress. Even some people combat stress with alcohol or whatever. But like you say, in moderation, you have a stick, it makes you feel good, makes you be in the moment. We're having a great time. I really appreciate you guys having me here. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I'm enjoying meeting you guys a lot.
Dan, can I ask a question just as an outsider here? You have an accolade. I've been a musician for 55 years, certainly not anything close to it, but you have an accolade that so many youngsters try to acquire. 15 years of age, you were given the honor of being the best blues guitarist in the state of Connecticut. And although that doesn't sound yet of the state of Connecticut, but I gotta tell you, there were so many kids that try to be the best. You were the best. And That's phenomenal.
That whole story is really. My guitar teacher in 9th grade taught Everybody Rockin' Me Baby by Steve. The first day of class, everybody so keep on rocking me, baby. So the whole class was playing that the first day. If you couldn't play that, then you went to the bass or the drums. If you couldn't play bass or drums, you became a roadie or a lighting guy. And then he would turn the whole class into a band that was going to other schools to perform. And everybody quit basketball, soccer, football, and his coaches were coming into him and ripping him a new one because he was transcending these kids to become musicians. And many of those kids became professional musicians. And they all credit John Sayles. But he also played everybody against one another, which was his fault. He had faults. He'd be like, you better practice because Billy Vine is getting better than you. He's going to be the lead guitar player in the band. And you'll be out. And he'd give me like a heart attack. And I was like in 9th grade, you know. Yes, yeah, even worse. Yeah, he was a dance master. But I credit him for making many people musicians because I tried pot in 9th grade and I showed up to his class and he kicked me out of the band. And I was devastated. I thought I was going to die. But a lot of people say that he motivated me to succeed because he wasn't going to tolerate it. He would say using drugs doesn't go with learning. So you don't get it and you're out. But I found out that there was other guitar players that were washing his car and cleaning his pool. And they were greasing the wheels so that they could become the guy. And I invited him to my wedding. And I said, why would you invite me to my wedding? You don't have any Joe Will for it? And I said, well, you should read Beebe's book. Because Beebe was told on many shows that he sold out, that he wasn't going to be paid. Whether because he was black or because the promoters could get away with it. And he'd always say, well, they came to hear me play, so they're going to hear me play. So he always turned the other cheek. Another great conversation with Stevie Ray. Wanted to be on Alligator Records. Alligator Records told him he was too white, he was too wild. He almost committed suicide over it, drank, he was out of control. And Bruce Cigar from Alligator passed on Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's like Michael Jordan's high school coach cutting him. So maybe that's what fueled Stevie to do even better and get signed by Epic Records. And then when Iglauer called him to come play on Ronnie Mac's record, he said, sure. He never held any grudge, any animosity, because that energy doesn't do you any good. And you could just be obsessed with the people that did you wrong, or you could just forgive them and just say, well, I'm not in control. Yeah, man.
As a father of three kids myself, I often say I've got 3 daughters. I live in the Western Palace.
Yeah, well, I'm outnumbered in my house too, so yeah, I know that.
It's a dangerous place, so I spend as much time here as possible.
To escape the estrogen realm.
There's a scene right there.
Attitude, my attitude changed in my altitude. I wrote that song and found out Jimmy Buffett. I hit with it. I thought I was a genius.
But, all the time away from how do you balance family and travel? Like you're person. So, you know, we're glad you're here. You're having a good time. Everybody's having a great time here. But it's like, how do you balance that?
Well, I think everybody does it differently, and I know my kids are a little embarrassed by me because I am a musician, and all their friends' parents are like, I don't know, regular people. So even to this day, there's some resentment there, but you just accept it and say, you know, I love my kids unconditionally, and I did everything I could for them. Now they're adults, and you know. What are you gonna do? I mean, I spend a lot of time with my kids when they were little. My wife works at an insurance company. I'd be home, and we balance it with my parents and her parents. But you know, like I said, you gotta give your kids self-esteem and launch them, make them want to move out.
Yeah.
And not want to, you know. And my son, when he butts heads with me, I'm like, look, you can take that position with me when you get your own place. But when you're under my roof, you're not going to take the position like you're in charge. So I don't think two alpha males can live in the same roof. And he's saving his money by living with us. But he doesn't bring me to the point where I would ever hit him or anything. But I do butt heads with him and be like, don't talk to me that way. It's over my house. And I think every parent goes through a lot of shit. We should have discussed that earlier. Starting to sweat bullets now. It's that freaking whiskey. Holy cow, it's like 9 ounces of whiskey. Holy cow, Kurt. So I can drink whiskey, but then you gotta just sip it and you take your head right off. Is it me or what? How's the pairing? The pairing. That's like 900, this is like 12. Right? I mean, it's much stronger. I can do 10 of cigars and maybe 2 of those.
Yeah, same here. What are some things, you know, what are the things you do? When you're not playing somewhere, when you're not having to be anywhere, what are the things that you like to do?
Well, to be honest with you, sometimes I've spent like 20 hours straight in bed. Because just keeping business is killing you. And then you just like, you go there, holy shit, it's the next day. And you just, your body will tell you what's wrong. Yeah, but it doesn't happen often. I'll say that. I'm a Northeast guy like you guys. The only way you succeed in the Northeast is you get up. And we burn the candle at both ends to support our families. And anyone I meet who lives in the Northeast, I lived in Texas. I stayed with friends everywhere else. Nobody's like the Northeasterners. They're workers. They get shit done. And so I come from a family of immigrants that own diners and the whole ethnic thing. And my grandfather worked 7 days a week. And he didn't have an education. And he owned a diner. And there was no day off, you know. So we don't even realize how good we have it compared to our parents' generation. All they knew was work, and they worked for their families. So that makes sense.
We're getting near the end of the show here. What are the final thoughts on this? Let's start with Nurse Rick over there, the industry guest.
I love this cigar. I like almost everything Aganorsa puts out. And that first cigar that you gave us, I was like, Dave, this is outstanding. We gotta find this. Of course, we couldn't find it. But absolutely phenomenal.
It's only here.
So I was just contemplating pulling out of the pit. I was down in the note.
Yeah, same here.
So this is pipe worthy.
Yes, hashtag pipe worthy.
Yes.
But probably with the cigar and smoke the rest of it. But I have a little sticky there. And I just might do it.
The one thing we're adding, it's like the hacks. I smoke this cigar. And I remember I thought it was amazing. I'm like, put this you know? And that's one of those things I appreciate about Kurt is he doesn't rush anything. He doesn't rush anything. And like smoking this cigar again tonight, like it is night and day. Like there's already really good stuff in this cigar, but it's just like the 6 weeks is considered so much more refined and just hurting out to blend like something like it's different.
This Vitola, and not that I enjoy the rest of the Aganorsa Leaf Grow line. This does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Kurt, are you pleased with your Aganorsa experience?
I'm very pleased. I think all of a sudden when the second half of getting a real, the combination of whiskey and the tobacco was a real sweet flavor. It's almost candy sweet. And you can get that. Just sipping that whiskey very slowly and smoking it slowly. I'm watching
See you later. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm a slow smoker. Really enjoying it. Nice and burning nice.
Yeah, I haven't had to retouch anything, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Jeff, what about you? Are you enjoying the cigar?
I am. Thank you very much. I appreciate the hospitality. Appreciate you guys, and I give it an A+. This is from the.
Yeah, he looks completely
I am. A lot of my friends say that when I
Be drinking that Willet.
Dude, I finally see you relaxing. Yeah. So we're not aware of what it does to us, you know. But I wish I could put my words like Pat did about the intricacies going on in the stick. That's why I asked my brother to come with me, because I know he could appreciate the sticks more than me. I either like them or I don't like them. But I never really discussed the intricacies of Cohiba versus, you know, I order 724s wherever I go because that's my buddy. But like I said, I'm not qualified to analyze it except to say this is a good pairing. It's top shelf. They're both A+. And I know you guys agree with me because you're experiencing the same thing, and I would think you would.
Yeah, definitely. Jeff, this has been a pleasure having you on. I really appreciate you coming. And we had a lot of things to overcome to get this show together, and we overcame them all. And like you said, that's the whole Northeast thing. You just keep going. You make it happen however you can. And Kurt, I'm very glad that you were on the show too. And it's always a pleasure to have you on. I'm just glad that you're a supporter of the show, sponsor of the show. We wouldn't be here without you. Really appreciate it.
You guys are doing what you're doing.
Can we hear the Fat Cigar live?
Thanks to thanks for our guest producers or engineers or whatever you call them. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for putting this together.
Play us out.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Pat.
Stop it.